Well, look, when the Academy meets at its Congress each year, we always, in a sense, there's always the same shape to the event, which is this kind of combination of exploring a theme, in this case, green urbanism, and of learning about and learning from a place, Bristol. And that kind of dual character is reflected in the session which is about to begin. We've got three really fantastic speakers, and I think you can look forward to a very stimulating and entertaining 90 minutes or so in their company. Our first speaker is Peter Lord, who's the co-founder and the co-owner and creative director of Aardman Animations. And when Wolf was talking about, as it were, what does Bristol do in the future as opposed to what it has done in the past, I suspect Aardman is the kinds of business that Bristol will build its future prosperity on. It's, of course, a famous Bristol success story. It's a world-leading model animation company. They're an international business. They're exporters. They've won 4 Oscars. They've won BAFTAs and lots of other things. And we're going to have our reception this evening at their studios in Gas Ferry Road, which you'll enjoy. We asked Pete to come and speak to us today because, given that our core purpose is about learning from place, we thought it'd be very interesting to get him to talk about Aardman's animation with Bristol, which is a very intimate one. And we thought we might get him to talk a bit about what brought the business here and what's kept them here for so long, and how Bristol may have influenced Aardman, and whether Aardman might have been a different beast if it had been somewhere else. And those are things which all address those questions of place attachment, which are one of the very kind of core ideas that we explore in the Academy. When I was preparing my notes for this session, I came across a placemaking and marketing strategy written by an outfit called Yellow Railroad, which I thought was a bit cheeky, sounded a bit like my company. But it offers actually quite an interesting account of Bristol and about how others see it. And they, in this report, summon up the personality of the city in a 3-word headline. They say Bristol is, above all else, it's innovative, creative and unorthodox, and that sounds like quite a good description of Aardman. I think you're going to enjoy listening to this. Please welcome Peter Lord.
Hello everyone, hi. Very happy to be here. Quite scared to be here, honestly. I don't normally talk to this kind of group at all, so it's all very, very interesting and different for me. Here to talk about Aardman, as John has discussed. Yes, couldn't work the laptop. That's not... I have people to do that for me. I don't, honestly, I haven't got a thesis. No, I haven't. I tried to come up with one, actually. I thought it would be polite, but I couldn't come up with one. But I have an experience. So really, I'm just going to actually mostly tell you the story, and I'll leave you to draw your own conclusions, if I may. So Aardman is an SME. That's probably the only piece of jargon that we'll get from me. And I had to ask Dave if that was the case. And we make and market animated films, basically, of all different sorts. And the business, as a business, as a financial business, it stands on 5 legs, like pentapodal, I think is what it is. And so we do feature films. We do TV commercials. I have to check what we do. We do TV series, and then we market and we license the TV series that we make, and then we do. Oh, no, we don't. Absolutely don't. Stop. Oh, let's go back. Look at them. We have a large digital department, but. Yeah. But they've gone. They've disappeared. Actually, I spent quite a lot of time yesterday getting a picture of the digital department, and now I've lost them. Anyway, but they're the young, cool ones anyway. So we've been very successful. We came to Bristol in '76 full time, so I have no complaints. But really, my story really is that the journey here was never calculated, and I do a talk sometimes, or have in the past, sort of ingenuously entitled Good Timing and Lucky Breaks. And although that is a bit ingenuous, there's an awful lot of truth in it, I think. I genuinely believe that that's been really important to us. Timing particularly, maybe, and a lot of our story is about timing in a way. So the first of those, the first extremely lucky break was included nepotism, and I won't go into it in detail, but there should always be some nepotism in every story. We were two schoolboys, me and Dave Sproxton, and we met when we were 12 years old, and when we were 17 or so, we had our first work shown on television. And the great thing is that character that was shown on a BBC TV program called Vision On, and that character was called Aardman. We called him Aardman, which was like, I can't even claim it was a joke. It seemed quite funny when we were 17 or something like that. The Aardvark was a funny animal, so that Superman-like character was Aardman, and that was the joke then, and it's still the joke today. Still, and then after very quickly though, we moved away from that. That's traditional drawn animation, and we had a major technological breakthrough, the big technological breakthrough, which was plasticine, I'm going to show you something which is really, really interesting to me. This is not Aardman work. This is somebody else. The reason it's so interesting is that when I knew I was doing this talk, I thought I must find that thing that influenced us. So again, I'm sorry to keep going back in time, but when we were the same age, 15, 16, watching a TV program, and we saw a clip of that film. It's by a guy called Elliot Noyes. He's an American, did it in the 50s, I think. And I haven't seen it since. I believed that we were influenced by an Italian TV series of plasticine animation. And when I was looking for that online, I came across that and I said, oh, that's it. That's the very thing that we saw on TV like 15, 16 years ago that made us think that you could animate with plasticine. And that became our career. Absolutely, that sort of that gooey material is the foundation of our career. And of course, a big part of that story is to say that, original ideas, I'm sure there are some in the world, but so much of creativity is about passing on ideas, isn't it? It's about like a baton, taking a baton from someone else and carrying on with it. So I've never claimed, well, I sometimes claim that we invented the whole technique, but we didn't really. But we saw a tiny thing like that, 20 seconds or something, and thought, wow, that's amazing. We could do that, and we did. And doing that, animating in that medium, became our unique selling proposition, the thing that we did that no one else was doing, and that gave us a very, very powerful position. All of this, even before we came to Bristol, which of course I'm coming to Bristol. And then we came to Bristol in '76, and heaven knows you wouldn't say there was an animation industry here at all. I think there were two people working in animation that we knew, three, when we came to Bristol. But two of them were connected with the BBC, and there was Colin Thomas and Bill Mather. And you have to credit them because they also gave us an idea. They gave us an idea, and they gave us one of those tiny footholds in the media that you need to get started. The tiny foothold was a chance to make a 5-minute film, for which they paid £600. I remember that. And the idea, the baton they passed on to us was this idea of taking real soundtracks and animating to match it, which again was not a new idea, which again, as far as I know, came from America in the 50s with John and Faith Hubley. But we took the idea and we did our own thing with it, with plasticine, and that was unique. And here's the tiny clip.
Who did you bring?
I didn't bring anybody, they rang us.
Yeah. You didn't know who it was. No, I never done him no harm, none of them.
So that recording was made at the Salvation Army hostel in Broadweir in Bristol, and we took that raw material and made that short film, which more or less disappeared without trace because short films do. But without that film, there would have been for us no Creature Comforts. There would have been no first Oscar. There would have been no probably no career in advertising, which helped to fund the rest of our business. So meeting those two guys in Bristol, that small contact was, has proved to be absolutely pivotal. And then the fourth of my list of sort of lucky breaks, at least, was encountering a young film student who we met at the National Film School in London. He was making a film which very, very slowly. Animation is famously slow. Nick Park was slower than most, and he looked set to be there for the rest of his life. So we persuaded him to come down from the National Film School, where he'd outstayed his welcome anyway, and come and finish his film in Bristol, which he did. And he brought us these fellows.
Gromit, that's it, cheese. We'll go somewhere where there's cheese.
I love that line. I love that line. Or go somewhere where there's cheese. So on those things, amongst others, those are some of the big key breaks that we had when we were very young. It got us going. How does Bristol come into this? Well, I'll talk about that in a minute, but I just wanted to represent Bristol. Later, some 7 or 8 years after that, we made another series of films based on soundtracks, and this is just the most authentic Bristol voice. This is a chap called Bill Perry, who lived in Windmill Hill in Bristol.
No, have I got the right house? No. Was that number 5 or number 16? I gotta get those right, and I blow, because
He switched on then.
Hey?
He switched on. Oh no, this is one of the hardest bloody jobs I've ever done.
No, listen, no, shut that thing off. No, shut no.
I saw that film here in this theatre with Bill, and in the way of these things, I'd never met him. It was the way we chose to work, and I heard this voice coming up the stairs that was, this is him. And then when he came around the corner, he didn't have a sausage-like head or anything like that. And I didn't recognise him. It was all wrong. So, a quick summary, because I know everything has to be quick. So we started out as two schoolboys in suburban Surrey. We went away to university, and I went to York, where I studied English literature, and Dave went to Durham, where he studied geography, which gives you a good clue that we didn't actually have our eyes set on a career in animation at that time. But we were doing it. It was a hobby. It was just a hobby. And we met up in the vacations and made short films for Vision On. And 1 year we came to Bristol one summer. And then when we graduated from our two delightful northern cathedral cities, we thought, well, let's give it a go. Where should we go? And it was Bristol. And why was it Bristol? There were 3 factors why it was Bristol. The first is that I was born here, and so I had strong emotional links. I mean, I liked the place very much. I didn't know it at all well, but liked it very much. That was important. Knew how good it was, and of course had some family friends. So when I first came down, we stayed with family friends. So these things are important. The second element is love. Luckily, there needs to be some romance in the story. Dave's girlfriend was studying at Bristol University, and she had her heart set on a job at the museum here, and she wasn't going anywhere. So that was a natural sort of magnetic draw down to Bristol. And the third one, the serious one, was the BBC, because we had one business contact for this programme vision on. And it wasn't even produced in Bristol. It was just recorded in Bristol, produced in London. It meant they came down to Bristol a couple of days, a month, I think, not very often. But things like the graphics department at Bristol BBC that worked on the show, they were here. And there were a series of contributors, freelance contributors to this eccentric program, and 3 of them were in Bristol. So that very tenuous link was the only business link we had, and so, you know, it could have been London. I'll mention that later, but Bristol it was, and those 3 or 4 people that we met were our entire industry circle. You know, we the world of animation actually at that time we actually knew very little about. So I mentioned 3 reasons why we were here, and there is a fourth, and the fourth is as it were a negative, is that we were, I don't know, we were too scared and too broke to go to London. I think really, it's extraordinary to think now that we never dreamt of borrowing money. It just didn't occur. In '76, it wasn't an option. And we didn't think about it because we weren't business people at all. We didn't know about business. So we never dreamt of acquiring some capital to start up the business. So the game plan was, where can we live as cheaply as possible until we get enough money for the company to get some inertia. And that was Bristol. And London seemed more expensive, and we didn't know anybody there, so we didn't contemplate it. So we came to Bristol, '76, and set up. And so what was the ambition? What was the game plan? If it had been to build a company that would specialize in model animation, be active in a huge variety of fields, including feature films and advertising, and eventually produce a string of multi-million-dollar movies, if that had been the ambition, we wouldn't have come to Bristol. No, this would have been a very foolish place to come. No, but that wasn't the ambition. The ambition was much lower. The ambition was to make films and start a career, and that was probably about as far as it went, I think. And we were in it. I do believe we were in it to make films. You know, first and foremost, and everything else, making money, making a career, was secondary to making films. So why did Bristol work? Why does Bristol work? Well, the one that won't surprise you, the obvious one, is the people. And this is the team in the lovely new headquarters building, which you'll see this evening. This is the team today, and barring a few, falling by the wayside as they do, all these people live and work permanently in Bristol and in our headquarters. There's another team, a bigger team actually, that works in the north of Bristol in a big old warehouse, and there we make feature films, and that is, I wish it was more continuous, but it's not. It's seasonal. It comes and goes, and so the numbers come and go. And of those, I guess 40% may live and work permanently in Bristol, and the rest are freelancers of all sorts. And now I'll take you back in time. So here we are, 2 very, very large groups. This is us when we decided to split the company in half, which I think was in '96. I mean, in half, between feature films and mainstream films. This is us when we first moved down to our lovely location down by the docks, near the docks, which we love so much. This was us here a few years before that. This was us in the back garden in Clifton in about 86, I'm guessing there. And this is the entire staff in 1983. And the funny thing is that there was 3 of us. It means that there were just 2 of us for about 6 years. So it took a very long time to grow. And now this group of people is, of course, our greatest asset. It's the reason we're here. It's the people we love. A lot of these people, in honesty, you could sort of find anywhere. I mean, in any city. But there's a core of perhaps 100 people who are so magnificently specialised in model making, animation, our special sort of engineering. Without they are, Bristol, pure and simple, and I'm very proud of them. They accumulated, some we recruited conventionally, put an ad in the paper. Some we went to colleges and found them there in open days. Many approached us, of course, sending in their work, so that wanting work. Our head of production, she's not here, so I can say this, it's unkind, but she started as the cleaner. I mean, she actually had a job in radio, but she came to work for us as the cleaner for a short while, and now is the head of feature production. So accumulated, gathered, and I'm just mostly grateful to them, mostly, and I don't take credit for them being as great as they are. It's just, but they are. Now, at the same time as that lot grew, so our contacts grew. This is, I have to say, a very hastily thrown together slide, just to exemplify the sort of creative people that now we work with in different ways. Some very specifically, like Cod Stakes there. They do model making for us. It's very specific. University of West of England, we run animation courses there. But others like Rolls-Royce, we occasionally discuss ideas and techniques for creativity and that kind of thing. So so many different ways, and time's up. So many different ways, so many different ways in which they inspire us, so many different sorts of contact that you make. And I would just remind you again that when we came to Bristol, there was only this one. That when we came to town, that was kind of it. Obviously, I claim, BBC, University of Bristol, Rolls-Royce, these are long-established places, but half of these, at least, didn't exist when we came to Bristol, maybe more than half. And so Bristol has boomed, we've boomed with it, and it's been absolutely wonderful. I'm just about done, aren't I, really? I just want to share, that was our first kind of mainstream studio, and I wanted to mention it because in the mid-'80s, there was a big breakthrough for us with advertising, and we made a lot of TV commercials, and I'm very happy with that. Because some people are snotty about TV commercials because it's vulgar, but I'm very happy. It was a very good business, and it gave us so much freedom because of the money we made from TV commercials. That allowed us to buy our studio and become financially self-sufficient and independent. And in the early 80s, TV advertising was completely metrocentric. Everyone was in London, and Bristol was just an amusing joke or something. But I'm very proud of the fact we made it work. And why did we make it work? Because we offered something which was new and surprising to the advertising industry. We offered a sort of artistic integrity, energy. We were in this magnificent, scruffy old shed. We were like a bunch of artists, but we were doing very good, reliable work. We were doing what they wanted to want, no one else could do. And of course, Bristol's well placed. They could come; those agency types could come down to Bristol easily. An hour and a half on the train. It was easy to get down. They enjoyed the environment. They enjoyed the visual part of being in Bristol. This is in Clifton, so it's near all the posh parts and the picturesque parts. So that was good. When they were bored of watching us animate, then they could go into Clifton. And back in those days, they used to go to the antiques market. That was their idea of a good layout. Yes, so I really have time. Time is up. So just to say at the end, to sort of summarise, we made the virtue of being in Bristol. I was going to say, I was saying to somebody in Norway just the other day. I was in a bar in Norway with a beer with some people from the animation business. I said, aren't animation people nice? Which is, that's not a very strong judgment. But there is a truth to this. Animators are filmmakers and they're performers, but the way they present their work is very, very private and unshowy. In my experience of the world of film and theatre and advertising, especially film, especially in Hollywood, you meet monumental egos, you meet incredible neurosis, exhibitionism, ferocious competitiveness and ferocious ambition. We don't do that. We've never been those kind of people, and that doesn't interest me. And my kind of thesis was, I think Bristol's like that too, i.e. not those things. I think that's why we wanted to come. I feel that's why we felt comfortable here, at home and not threatened. I'm sure that if the heads of business in Bristol heard me saying that we weren't ambitious and competitive, they would have apoplexy, because those are meant to be good things. But no, I'm much more interested in cooperation and I like a quiet life, and that's, we don't fight, we don't compete, and if we're ambitious, we're ambitious in practice and not in person. So I think that's why Bristol's worked for us. I just had a funny slide to finish on. It amused me. This was. It's not very clear, is it? This was when we moved to Bristol, I went to visit the Harbert's plasticine factory, because plasticine was our lifeblood, and they had this, at the top there, this magnificent old mill in Bathampton, and I thought, that's where I want to work, in a wonderful old brick-built mill by a canal like that, and see the guy rolling plasticine with the roller. That was how I wanted our business to be. We didn't work out because all the warehouses in Bristol and the mills and the warehouses, the roofs were too low. We need height. You need height for animation because it's a film studio. So that's why we ended up in the rather inelegant 70s shed previously used to ripen bananas. But it worked. Anyway, so end of story. Time's up. Thanks for coming.